You are listening to WebFit News Live Radio. News that fits your fast life.
Imagine spending decades building a world-class education system, only to watch your brightest engineers, doctors, and creatives just pack their bags for higher paychecks overseas.
Right, the classic talent drain.
Exactly. I mean, for New Zealand, that brain drain was basically accepted as an inevitable law of economic gravity. But, gravity is shifting. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're jumping into some wild 2026 data that reveals how high-speed internet is quietly ending this historic exodus. We're looking at what this new era of virtual migration actually means for you and where you might decide to live and work.
Yeah, the fundamental shift we're seeing here is this concept of decoupling. We finally have hard proof that professionals no longer have to physically relocate to, command those massive global salaries.
And the salary gaps in this data are just wild. Like a senior software engineer living in Auckland maxes out locally at around 150,000 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah.
But if they take a remote role for a U.S. firm, they instantly double that to 300,000. It's almost like having a VIP backstage pass to a massive global stadium, but you get to enjoy the show from the comfort of your living room in Auckland.
That's a great way to put it. And it's a massive macroeconomic win for the home country, too. Because think about it, the intellectual property and the labor go to the U.S., but the domestic spending.
The groceries and local taxes.
Exactly. Buying groceries, paying for services, all of that wealth is injected directly into New Zealand's economy.
Which totally explains the new April 2026 tax laws. But I'll admit, I'm a little confused by the mechanics here. They're switching off the 183-day tax residency test. How is that rule actually a burden for digital nomads before?
Well, previously, if you stayed in New Zealand for more than 183 days in a single year, you triggered full tax residency.
Oh, meaning you could suddenly be taxed on your global income.
Precisely. So it essentially forced highly paid remote workers to leave the country after 6 months, just to avoid those heavy financial penalties. By switching that off, the government removes all that friction. They're basically saying, bring your foreign wealth here, stay as long as you want, and spend it locally.
Okay, but if you have this massive remote salary and you can work from anywhere, why stay in New Zealand at all? Like, for decades, the default move for these professionals was to relocate to Australia for the lifestyle. Has that financial advantage just vanished?
It really has, yeah. A lot of that perceived advantage gets eaten up by the raw cost of living now. We're seeing a stark convergence in housing costs across the ditch. Right now, median rents in Auckland and Melbourne are virtually tied at about 750 New Zealand dollars a week.
Wow, tied.
Yeah, and if you look at Brisbane, it has skyrocketed to like 1,161 a week. Plus, New Zealand just ranked #1 globally in the 2025 Life-Work Balance Index, while Australia sits down at number 8.
Let me push back on that a bit, though. Because we've always heard moving to Australia is this automatic financial upgrade. But if Australian utilities are running, 34% higher right now, isn't a higher Australian salary really just a market correction for a pricier environment?
That's exactly what it is. Any extra purchasing power evaporates when you factor in those basic costs. And also what economists are calling Australia's confident consumerism.
Wait, confident consumerism? What does that look like on the ground?
It's basically a culture of aggressive lifestyle inflation. So there are much higher baseline expectations for dining out, vehicle upgrades, luxury amenities, that sort of thing.
Oh, so keeping up with the Joneses.
Right. Your money simply doesn't stretch as far when the societal baseline for spending is just that much higher.
That makes sense. It paints a picture of this financially viable, beautifully balanced utopia in New Zealand. But looking at the actual migration numbers, there's a glaring contradiction here.
The departure rates.
Yeah. Tens of thousands of citizens are still leaving. The data shows 72,700 recent departures. Why the mass exit if staying is so lucrative?
Because we're witnessing a masking effect. That departure number is super high, yes, but it's only half the ledger. Because as of January 2026, New Zealand actually saw a net migration gain of 23,200 people.
Because they're replacing the departing citizens with new arrivals.
Rapidly. The government has introduced these fast-track visas that process in just 5 to 12 days. So when local talent leaves, say, a nurse moving to London, they are seamlessly replaced by highly skilled workers arriving from places like the Philippines, India, or the UK.
Okay, but I have to ask. By relying on this brain exchange to fill our healthcare gaps, are rich nations essentially just offloading their own care crises onto developing nations?
Oh, it's a huge ethical tension. Because on one hand, yes, it completely stabilizes New Zealand's system.
Right.
But on the other hand, culling that talent risks collapsing the healthcare systems in those neighboring countries.
Wow. So it's not a brain drain stopping. It's evolved into a global brain network where we just swap talent to fill gaps.
Exactly. The old one-way talent pipeline is totally dead.
So if you're navigating this new landscape, the takeaway is pretty clear. Your skills flow virtually now, which means your physical location is no longer dictated by where the best jobs are.
Right. Geography is transitioning from an economic constraint into a pure lifestyle choice.
Which leaves you with a really provocative question to ponder on your own. If geography no longer dictates your earning potential, but only your quality of life, how does that change where you might choose to plant your roots tomorrow?